Hello and welcome to another Tech Talk brought to you by the Albert Lea Public Library. Today, Wednesday, July 15th, we are going to talk about Google Drive. So just going to give you a quick introduction to Google Drive as it's becoming used more and more. I think a good overview of what it is, basics, will be helpful. So Google Drive is a free service that allows you to create and store files. If you have a Gmail account or any kind of Google account, you already have a Google Drive account. If not, you can create a free Google account and have access to it. And so Google Drive is a cloud-based storage system. A lot of people are nervous about cloud-based storage. It's still relatively new, but essentially a cloud-based service means that your files, your information is being stored on a server that exists somewhere in a warehouse. So in this case, a warehouse that Google owns with other servers, that's where your information is stored. And some advantages to cloud-based storage services. Files can be accessed from any computer with an internet connection. So if you have, if you're working on a document at home, all of a sudden you go visit someone, you use their computer, you need to access your file, you just log into your Google account and it's all there, good to go. So it's very handy that way that you don't need to email the file to yourself. And then if you're on a different computer, download it, hope that they have the software that you were using. You don't have to save it to a USB drive. It's a lot easier to lose a USB drive than it might be for Google servers to get hacked into to get your information. So in that sense, it is safer as long as you're careful about what documents you put on there. And then you can also share files with other people. You can allow them to edit your files, or you can just share it so they can see them. And it just makes collaboration a lot easier. Okay. So while Google Drive is technically a cloud-based storage service, it also has a function where you can create files from scratch. And in this sense, it a lot of times is a replacement or can be a replacement for Microsoft Word. So there are some programs on Google Drive, a Documents, which is similar to Microsoft Word, a spreadsheet, which is similar to Microsoft Excel, presentations, which I use to create these PowerPoints that are similar to Microsoft PowerPoint. And it also has some forms, so you can create online forms, send out a link, people can fill it out, you get the results in your spreadsheet, very handy. And there's also a drawings function in addition to a few other things that I didn't mention. These are the main ones that are used. Drawings is kind of similar to Paint. If you remember Paint, you can upload images, you can kind of add text, do some things to it to create kind of like an interesting graphic. So I'm going to pop over to Google Drive here, just so you have an idea of what it looks like. So you'll see that I've got some folders, all my files show up right there, very easy to use. To create a new document, all I do is click on New. I will click on Google Docs, and that will give me a new word processing document. And as you can see, it looks fairly similar to Microsoft Word. Some of your options are going to be in a little bit different place, but everything, for the most part, the main functions of Microsoft Word that you may need, you'll find in Google Drive. And in Google Docs. So it's a great alternative for starting to create documents online. And as I mentioned before, there's a very easy share button here. So if I click share, I have to name it, and then I can I can type in anyone's email address, and they can have access to it. You can allow them to edit it. You can allow them just to view it. You can allow them to make suggestions so that their edits show up on the side, and then you can accept them. So it's really handy for collaboration in that sense. If I go back over to Google Drive and I click on New, I could get a Google Sheets, which is similar to which is a spreadsheet, Google Slides, which is like the PowerPoint presentation. And then if you'll notice here, there's also a file upload. So I'll talk about in a minute when I get back to my presentation about upload. So it's super easy. Click File Upload, select a file on the computer, and we're good to go. Google gives you quite a bit of storage space, so you shouldn't have any problem running out of any kind of storage. When you're in your Google account, whether it's Gmail or you've just logged in, if you're signed in, you'll see up in the right-hand corner a grid, and when you hover over it, it says Google Apps. If I click on that, I can find all the different apps that Google has, including Google Drive, and that will bring you to a screen that looks similar to this depending on what files you have on it. So it's very simple, streamlined, easy to use. So that is kind of the basics of creating documents in there. So some people do use it as an alternative to Microsoft Word. You can download, if you create a document in Google Drive, you can download it as a Microsoft Word file. You just might lose some formatting, so just keep that in mind. But you can download it as a PDF if you need to. You can just send it right to someone's email and they can view it right there in their email. It's super easy. You don't have to attach anything to emails. So it's very handy to share files. And so then, as I mentioned, you can also upload files on Google Drive. So some people use it as a just a backup for files. So if you have some files stored on your computer that you don't want to lose in case your computer crashes, you could upload them to Google Drive, and it's just a secondary storage system. Or let's say you are getting a new computer and you want to transfer some files over, you could upload them to Google Drive, download them back to your computer, or you could leave them on Google Drive if you don't want them to take up space on your computer. So you can upload Microsoft Office, so .doc or .docx, .xlsx is Excel files, PowerPoint files. You can upload those. You can convert like a Microsoft Word document into Google Drive so that it is editable right online in Google Drive. You can do that. Just know that, again, you'll lose some formatting. So if it's something really format heavy, like a resume, it may not be the best option, but if you know you're going to be working on it on a computer that may not have Microsoft Word downloaded on it, you may want to take the time to reformat it and just use Google Drive. So if you think that you may want to work on a file on Google Drive or send it through Google Drive, and you haven't started it yet, it's best to start it on Google Drive, because you can download it as that Microsoft Word if that's the format that you ultimately need, or a PDF, but then your formatting won't get lost if you start it on Google Drive and download it that way. So two real main uses for Google Drive: backup service, storage. You can upload PDFs. You just won't be able to edit them, but you can view them. You can also upload image files. And these days, with a lot of people, using their phones or tablets or different types of computers, Chromebooks, Mac, Windows-based computers, this is a good alternative so that you send an email to someone, they can open it right in Gmail, and it'll look the same for everyone, no matter what device they're using, because it's run through Google. So that's really nice in these days when there's so many options for looking at files. So that was just kind of a quick introduction to Google Drive. I hope you found this helpful. I think a lot of organizations, groups, volunteer groups, are moving towards using cloud-based services such as Google Drive, especially since Google has a Google for Business option. So it's good to kind of know the basics, so that if you're part of something that is going to move that way, or you think that you might be joining an organization or volunteer work that could use Google Drive, it's a very handy tool. And it's a free, everyone, if they want to go in and edit documents, they would need a Gmail account, but it's a free account. You can set it up really quickly. And if you use Google Drive, you can set up a Google account and not use Gmail if you have email through something else. So just a few extra tips there to keep in mind. But I hope you found this quick little introduction to Google Drive helpful, and we'll be back next week with another Tech Talk on a different topic.